Hi, I'm David Bell. This is episode 2 of the 12-part Effective Church Leaders course. I show you one key concept per video that unwraps the richness of the term koinonia. This is a way of belonging to a church, or in fact belonging to any kind of Christian study group. Tonight we look at the vexatious topic of Bible study in contemporary church. We live in a golden age of communications as far as the Bible is concerned, but that doesn't make it any easier to study it and understand it. And although the Bible is a wonderful book, it is of course an ancient book. A deep knowledge of the Bible can't be acquired overnight. So how can we motivate people to get involved in Bible study? Not every Christian has the desire to do that, especially when it's presented maybe as academic study. So what are the options for a church leader? The very first step is to do some critical thinking about how people learn. Stop thinking about the Bible itself and how to read and interpret it. Start thinking our multiple intelligences. We're all intelligent, but we're all intelligent in different ways. Say someone doesn't read so well, but he or she may well be able to do the most important tasks in life better than someone who reads non-stop. Howard Gardner introduced the term multiple intelligences to overcome the kind of cruel categorization of children according to IQ tests. He showed there are many more ways than a standardized test to understand how good people are at learning. This is what he demonstrated. You can be smart by the measure of verbal linguistic intelligence. People good at this will write reports, documents, books and very long emails. You can be smart by the measure of logical mathematical intelligence. Obviously that means you like doing sums and calculations, thinking about logical results. You can be smart by the measure of visual spatial intelligence. And that's not just reading maps, though that's very useful, but it means for you infographics are the most natural way of giving and receiving information. You can be smart by the measure of musical intelligence. And that's not just about sound, it's about harmony and rhythm and capturing the beat. You can be smart by the measure of natural or naturalistic intelligence, and that will probably take you into the earth sciences. You can be smart by the measure of bodily kinesthetic intelligence. That ties into a learning preference for touch and feel, etc. You can be smart by the measure of interpersonal intelligence. And that means you can feel and have empathy for what another person's feelings and motivations are. You can be smart by the measure of intrapersonal intelligence. This is a bit more reflective, and it's about your ability to see what's happening inside of yourself in terms of feelings, moods and intention. So here's a practical application. I wanted to teach the book of Jonah. Most of the people coming came with some interesting presuppositions about the Bible. Well, I can almost guarantee that none of them came expecting the book of Jonah to be treated as a big Jewish joke, which of course it is. But because of the aura of respect which surrounds anything to do with the Bible, people don't want to be seen laughing out loud. Laughter and jokes, they think, would be disrespectful of the sacred book. So I knew where I wanted to go with the Bible study, but how to get them there was another matter. That's the same with every Bible story, every Bible book. Unless you plan to engage the multiple intelligences distributed across the group participants, forget it. Your Bible study will do more harm than good. Now, to show you how I did do this, the finished product, and it took a bit of time and effort, you can find a link in the YouTube information about this video. Look for the story of Jonah. But I've got a second and even more important point here and now. Suppose you planned a Bible study event based on your knowledge, some resources you've put together, and you've taken account of multiple intelligences distributed among the group members. So, obviously, you're very well prepared. Yet, I wonder, Have you also taken into account the overall group dynamic? Maybe you or someone else said, let's have a Bible study, and formed the group there and then. But why do it that way? What's its overall purpose? What are the participants expected to do? How can the learnings be acknowledged and possibly retained for future use? These are common sense questions, but hardly ever asked, let alone answered, at the start of a Bible study. And the reasons for that are simple. First, we tend to replicate adult study groups as if they were out of a classroom belonging to a bygone era. That's the surest way to keep your group unable to really engage with the content. And second, we do it because of that aura of apparent respect. You can almost hear someone saying, well, if it's the Bible under discussion, the Holy Spirit or God will look after all of those awkward issues. We will be guided. I don't think so. Your guidance is the guidance you put into the group dynamic. I think God can work with that, but definitely not work with leaving it all over to her or him. So your foundational group dynamic is your rich koinonia. That is your enriched way of belonging to a group with a purpose and a shared responsibility and a desire to use and reuse the learnings. Your koinonia is enhanced because before dealing with the Bible content, you dealt to a much more basic group need. Participants feel their contribution actually means something because you have planned to maximize their participation. And because you plan to use the content in different ways to meet the multiple intelligence sitting around waiting to discern a word from the Lord, that's good. Now, just as an aside for Sixth Senses participants, there are numerous ways of keeping and reusing your group's learnings, including ongoing recognition of open-ended learning through our Open Badge Factory Awards. And all of that brings me to my final point. Someone will say, why do we need to do all of that? Why can't we just study the Bible for our own pleasure? Well, of course you can. This method, however, will help optimize the pleasure and the profit in the koinonia, in the fellowship. In the dim distant scene of 18th century England, the Reverend John Wesley promoted Bible study in similar ways to this in his context. He made rules for doing Bible studies for his helpers, and all the rules were designed to cohere so that lives could be transformed, which was my starting point. The Bible is a wonderful book. It's not merely an academic exercise. Therefore, a lot more forethought needs to go into setting up a Bible studies. When the group's needs, dynamics and abilities are taken into account as the starting point, then the content of the Bible study will take on a new life of its own. Try it in your koinonia. Next week we move to the aspect of building up a community where belonging really matters. The topic is communication, and as usual will be published in the Practical Theology channel Wednesday evening, New Zealand time, 2000 hours. Do join, and thanks very much for watching.